All right, just let's wait a few minutes for others to join. Then we can start here. Okay, let's start. Then the others can join, yeah? Okay. Right. To share my screen just now. So today we'll go through some questions because I think we spent the last couple of days looking at the syllabus. So now we'll focus on the questions that we can get, okay? So let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see the question paper. I'll just make it a bit bigger as well. Okay. And here you can participate in this particular activity. So I bring up chat as well. Okay. So this paper in 2022 was a pretty mixed paper. Some good questions, some awkward questions, some trick questions. So we'll try and cover this, at least give an idea. But in general, basically, the material is the same in the exams. It will not change, right? The only way is to catch you out by twisting the question, by slanting the question in such a way that it throws you off guard. The key thing is how not to get trapped in that web that they're trying to set up for you. Okay, that's the key trick here. Okay. Okay. Now, this question was asked in this paper was, what is meant the term Gnan Yoga? You know the Gnan Yoga is pathway of knowledge. Okay. Yeah. Good. Very good. Name one thing that Krishna said about the Gnan Yoga. Now, the thing is this: the Gnan Yoga actually is chapter 2, really speaking. Although it doesn't mention chapter 2 in your syllabus, really, you're supposed to have some general knowledge of the Gita anyway. But what you can do is the very first verse you have in the Gita explains who does Gnan Yoga and who does Karma Yoga. Okay, it says that. So it says man of contemplation. or man who thinks, yeah, will follow the path of very good. So you can answer here. One thing that Krishna says about the Gnana Yoga in chapter 3 is that Gnana Yoga is the path of contemplation. Okay, like that. Then you get your mark. Or you can, if you forget, you can say other things. You can say, look, Gnana Yoga is for people who like to read scriptures, who like to pursue knowledge. You can make it up, right? It is going to be in the Gita. One thing to mention here is this. This is a general kind of statement. If you are not sure and you say, Krishna in the Gita says, you will most likely get away with, okay? Don't do it all the time, but for example, if I'm not sure about Gnana, I say, oh yeah, Krishna about Gnana Yoga, he says Gnana Yoga is one of the most beautiful pathways of people who are deeply, who have deep knowledge of the divine, who want to find moksha through deep knowledge of divine. Okay, you get a mark for that. Or Krishna says that Gnana Yoga people who want to pursue the teachings of the Upanishads, right? Okay, to understand the, pathway to moksha. Again, Gnana Yoga. So don't get stuck. Any question they ask, sometimes you get away with quoting the Gita, okay? B, outline what is meant by the term karma, okay? So karma means action. Then you can go into more detail, okay? And if you do good karma, okay, it helps you go progress towards moksha. If you do bad karma, it takes you further away from moksha. And in the cycle of samsara and, samsara, birth and death, your karmas go with you. They kind of form your attributes and characteristics. And that baggage goes with you, okay? And if you're clever enough, you can quote the idea of Sanchit karma, Prarabdha karma, and Agami karma, okay? Sanchit karma is the ones you going to save, then Prarabdha ones you come into fruition, and Agami karma is the one which or Kami is going to happen. It's somewhere in your notes. You can look at like that, look at the karma like that as well. But generally, if you say karma is, good and bad karma, if you compare that for 3 marker, that is more than enough, right? You can mention that one way people make sure they do good karma is perhaps by following the dharma, okay, as you mentioned here. So that would kind of give you on the right track by saying that, okay. So that will give you the 3 marks, okay. C is a trick question. It's a tricking you a bit here, or slanting the question. Explains Krishna teaching about the Brahman in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3. Now in chapter 3, he does mention about the Vedas and about knowledge of Brahman, which can be achieved through selfless action. But here, moksha, yeah, is the same as Brahman. Okay? Achieving moksha is the same as Brahman, because ultimately, what do you mean by moksha? Is to realize Brahman. So the trick here is that when they say teaching about Brahman, they mean teaching about moksha in a way, because ultimately you become Brahman. So you say, you can quote everything in chapter 3 in the Gita, just so that, you can say by achieving moksha, you become one with Brahman. So you say by selfless action, by doing action continuously, okay, you cannot live without doing action. Action has to be done selflessly. You must conquer desires and anger, okay, to be successful in Karma Yoga. And when you do that, you come closer to realizing your true nature as one with Brahman, or true nature, okay, as linked to Brahman. Either way, you get a mark for that, okay. And here you can quote some of the verses I've given you. He states that, greater than the senses is that, greater than that is that, and greater than the sense is he. He is the pure nature of Brahman. Okay. So here use the idea of he, use Atman and Brahman in a similar fashion, and you'll be fine with that. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's very good as well. Yes. You can say in verse 42. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Good way you can say body, mind, intellect as well. But make sure you explain what you mean. Body first, mind, the intellect later. And after intellect is the idea of Brahman. Okay. Here the idea of the horse can help you, right? For the 5 horses. Okay. Nevertheless, don't get confused by the word Brahman. That is tricky. It's trying to trick you out. Okay. Okay, D part. Hindu scriptures are less relevant to Hindus than they used to be. So here is a very kind of mixed question. One thing you must mention here is the two type of scriptures you have. Okay. Yeah, but what are the two types of scriptures that you have? Who can tell me? Shruti, what does Shruti mean? That's what does Shruti mean? Yeah. Okay. From the word Shrutva. Here you can put the word Shrutva means having heard. Okay. Okay. Shrutva. Like that. Okay. So you can say those scriptures which reveal eternal, divine, universal truths, the Shruti, they are seen by many Hindus as eternal and are timeless teachings. Okay. And they may be still relevant today to help you in your path toward moksha. Example. Okay. You can say that. So you can expand a bit more on that. Things like teaching about the idea of Atman, Brahman, the link with Atman and Brahman. You can mention that. One thing you can mention here is this as well. Also, the Shruti do not about moral as see that is the power of scriptures because they have no moral code, which is changing from time to time, right? It makes it universal and timeless. Okay. You can also mention here that having said that for many Hindus, scriptures like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are seen as a guide for them in pursuing their moral, moral values, to get the moral values from there, or they give them inspiration on to live a better dharmic life. You can mention that as well. So for many Hindus, they may be relevant too. Okay. On the other hand, to go against, you can mention things like you can say that one, many scriptures like the law books like Manusmriti, they're way out of date. The world has changed so much that some of the code of conduct they mentioned is not relevant today. Also, you can mention that the life led by Rama and Krishna, as specified in the Mahabharata or Srimad Bhagavatam or the Gita, that life was very different. In the modern world we live in, where we have modern forms of communication, modern forms of transport, right? Modern ways of living. Those particular teachings may not be relevant today. Okay. Also, you can mention that here. Remember, get your the memory guide I gave you. Get that up and quote that memory guide. Yeah. I just put it again in chat once more. Yeah, you should all have it now. I've said it a couple of times. Okay. 1 second. Yeah. Just read it again. Okay. You can say that for many modern Hindus who would say that science gives you better answers, okay, or social scientists give you better reasons on how to live your life rather than relying on medieval and ancient books. Okay, you can say that. Plus, many stories in the Mahabharata and Gita or the kind of warfare they fought sounds very exaggerated and very superstitious. It's very hard for many modern rational Hindus to believe in. Okay, like that, yeah. Then you're covering all these views. And then you can say, nevertheless, many scriptures which are time machines are actually pretty important and are relevant to many Hindus, right? Okay. That is true. Many of the ancient scriptures written in Sanskrit, and many Hindus don't know the language, that do modern English language, so they're not kind of what do you call you said that encouraged, or they're not what do you call, they would not prefer to read this because they're in ancient Sanskrit language. Yeah, that's actually very true as well. Yeah, you can mention that too. Language is a barrier in that sense. Okay, so again, what these key points. Okay, also you can say the Puranic scriptures, the Puranic, yeah, are mythological. Okay, which is true. I know that some people say that they're actually literally true, but they're not. Okay. And you can mention some examples of here, right? Yeah. For example, you see Narad traveling through the heavens, right? Preaching, singing Vishnu's name, or Hanuman catching the sun. Yeah, all this kind of stuff. Or somebody is drinking the whole ocean. All these are seen as myths. Okay. So many modern Hindus would find very difficult to believe in these mythological stories because they have more modern rational knowledge. Okay. So the key thing is here is write in nice systematic manner what you stand for, the pros and pro points, then cause against, yeah. And some Hindus will be saying, some Hindus will pick up what they require best from the scriptures and not what do you call, not believe in everything. One of the key points you can put here is that Hinduism, okay, is not and not excuse me, and not what do you call, a religion of the book. Okay, okay. Therefore, to okay, take the teachings. Okay, something like that. Yeah. Therefore, Hindus are required to take the teaching in the scriptures as the unquestioned word of God. Okay, we don't do that. Okay, even the Gita is actually a dialogue. It's not God commanding, do this, do that, do that. He's explaining to Arjun what life is about, what does life mean, what does karma mean. So it's a dialogue. It's very different from a Abrahamic book when God commands people to do things like that. Okay. Anyway, so that is a what do you call, question one. In question two, what I can say is that how did Shabbat describe the two brothers? If you remember, they said one is dark of hue, one is fair. Otherwise, you can say also they have beautiful lot hair, dark lotus eyes, yeah, strong arms, stuff like that. Yeah, handsome looking, beautiful. All these words will fit. Just make two features and you get your 2 marks. Okay, but please write short sentences. Don't, and garlands as well, or wildflowers. Absolutely, very true. Yeah. Okay. Describe the concept of bhakti. I will do that question. You should know that by now. Let's go to C directly. Yeah. Explain what the example of fruit in the Chandogya Upanishad teaches about the Hindu beliefs. Okay. So the tree is called a Nyagodhara tree, or the banyan tree, you can say in English, banyan tree. Okay. What does it? What is the that example teaches that as he's given the fruit? So who is the father again? Who can tell me the father? Chandogya Upanishad. Anyone?
Udala.
Very good. And how about the son?
Shwat-ketu.
Yeah. So Shweta-ketu, yeah? Shweta-ketu. Okay. So Shweta-ketu, right, is the son. Okay. So you can see that very good. That's the right spelling. Well done, Aradhya. So the thing is this, you know what happens? The story goes like this. If you look at the Chandogya Upanishad, what happens is that Shatakuta has gone to another guru to study, right? And his father, in his own right, is a Vedic scholar as well. So when he comes back, he asks his son, "What did you study?" And son said, a lot of different things. But he goes, "Can you simplify?" He was talking about very complex things. What is the essence of Hindu teachings, right? And this is what this dialogue actually does. This verse here, it says, "Go bring me a seed of the banyan tree or the Nyagodra tree." It brings, open the first layer. What is inside? Tiny seed. Okay, tiny seed. Second time, open it inside. What is inside? Nothing. Just as you see nothing in that yet, from this nothingness, a seed in the entire banyan tree is present in that nothing space. Similarly, the Brahman is all prevalent everywhere, although you don't see it. It doesn't exist, but yet it is there, driving everything and basically creating everything, right? That's the key idea behind this story of the banyan tree, okay? And then you can explain a bit more. You can say that the all pervasive, force of Brahman can't be perceived, but can be seen. Just like in the seed, in the root of seed, there is nothing, the whole banyan tree exists like that. Yeah. And then if you explain like that, you kind of get your fire. But please mention the name of the father and son. Yeah. Yeah. What's happening? Okay. D. Karma is the best guide to living a good life. Now, this one is a very vague statement, but you can write a lot of stuff here, right? Okay. So if you say yes, you say good karma, bad karma, right? You must think everything you do. You must measure what you do. Make sure you're doing always good all the time. They have to be selfless actions as well. Yeah. Here you can quote, why is best guide good? Because that will give you marks as well. Yeah. Okay. Karma yoga. Okay. Mention that because that is true. Okay. But however, you also mentioned, but having said that, uh, dharma is also important. Okay. Right. Okay. So that's important. Dharma is important. What else can you say here? So basically, the karma and dharma, the theme was okay. Also living a good life, fulfilling your desires, earning artha. They're all seen as valid activities as per the Purushas. So those must be done too. For some Hindus, they'll be important as well, right? So while karma is a guide, it's not necessarily the best guide. Remember, the word is the best, yeah. No, maybe the best guide is how you follow your dharma as per age, ability, aptitude, your stage in life, your ashram in life. Your dharma will vary, right? So you can say that based on that, dharma is important too. Because dharma decides how you do your karma. Okay, so dharma is also equally important as karma. Okay, like that. And if you're in a married life, then basically fulfilling your desires, earning money is also equally important. So you can work on that kind of basis. Okay, and then you can say that. And also in the modern world, most Hindus don't see karma as a simple thing. They believe karma is an outdated concept. Okay, the key thing, you should always do activities in a measured fashion and knowing all the facts. Okay, like that. Yeah. So that's the way you can explain it. Okay, in a short. Okay? So you should just practice these questions. So you understand how to kind of answer them. Okay, A, I won't do it. You know that. B, you know that kind of how it works. Yes. Everybody does it differently. So if you put something reasonable in Namkara ceremony, you'll be fine. Okay. Okay. C, actually, there should be the ashramas and dharma. Here, the key thing to keep in mind is that the dharma is activities you do as per your stage in life. So in the brahmacharya ashram, your dharma is respect, knowledge, okay, study, celibate, dharma in that. So the dharma helps you to be successful in your ashrama. Okay. Your dharma in the grahastha is to go and earn wealth, yeah, get married, fulfill desires, have children. Okay. At the same time, your dharma is also to help others. Okay. So dharma in a way gives you the guidelines on how to fulfill the goals of that ashrama. If you answer it like that, plus give examples, again, Vanaprastha, for example, one must retire at one point and give all the knowledge they have, use the knowledge to teach others, or even become a guru and become a teacher, right? After Vanaprastha, so you help others. That is your dharma now, to pass all the skills you have learned to the next generation. Okay? If you're a sannyas, then you have to give up, your whole family, the whole world is in our family. You must focus on, purely on spiritual matters, because that is what dharma dictates in that particular stage. So that's the key thing to explain. The dharma is particularly may vary or may change depending on the stage of life, which is the ashrama. That is how you want to answer this question, okay, basically. And then you are fine. You can also mention a bit more. You can say that dharma is important because when you have dharma, there's order in society, and the ashram's system works more in a much more better fashion if everybody follows their dharma. You also mentioned that as well, because it's true, because where you have order and dharma, there's more society is more kind of orderly and more prone to practice spirituality and move forward in the spiritual fashion. Okay? D, it's not important for a Hindu to become a sannyas. Okay. Here, I would generally agree with that because one, you can say that you can still live like a sannyasi, fulfill, like live a celibate life, live a life of frugal life, while uh, living in the one per stage. Okay, that is if you're going to say distraction means if you're going to support that. But I'm just talking about at the moment, it's not important. One, you can still practice spirituality in your whatever ashram you are in. That's one. Okay. Two, okay. Hinduism accepts that it is okay for the four purusharths, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So that means you're still a Hindu, and Hinduism allows you. So it can't be less important than being a sannyas. Okay. You still have to do that. You can mention that as well. Okay. Second thing, also mention that by living in the grahastha ashram, you can do more charity and more karma, selfless action, help others. So it's important to be in the grahastha ashram. One person may also be important because in one person is where you see interact with your family and help them, support them, interact with the wider society, helping running charities, helping running, institutions. So you are still doing a lot of good work, right? And that is also seen as selfless action karma. So in a way, even when in a one person stage, if you do selfless action, you still work towards moksha. So technically, you can also mention you can sannyas can be seen as the state, as a state. Okay. If you think like a sannyasi and you control your discipline in your body, then you're a sannyasi. Okay, like that, yeah. Then you can mention, however, sannyas is important because when you're in the sannyas stage, you read the scriptures, you motivate others for spiritual paths. Okay. Plus, sannyas are important to preserve the traditions, Hindu traditions, because they can focus more of the time on preserving Hindu traditions, Hindu ideas, okay, Hindu beliefs. Sannyas is important at that stage. So here, the thing is because you got a D mark, question mark, you must expand, right? Take a point and open it up fully, really open it up, right? So you say, no, because in the brahmacharya, when you're brahmacharya stage, you learn about skills in life, which are important for building blocks, right? Okay. That can also be very important. Okay? And you can still be a teacher your whole life. It doesn't have to be, yeah. You can still learn. Learning is a lifelong. Again, I mentioned about Vanaprastha and grasp. If you mention those points, then you must put points against and eventually reconcile at the end. Okay. The key problem I have is that the papers I have marked, many of them know these facts, but they just regurgitate, like they just memory dump. Don't do that. Answer the question, okay? It's not important. You work, stick with the word, no, answer the question. Don't do memory dumps, because memory dump anybody can do. They just can cram the syllabus, just dump it like diarrhea, right? You don't want to do that. You want to actually think and answer what the question is asking. That's very important. And that's why I had a problem in marking. I didn't give you that many marks because you're not answering the question. And secondly, it's not nicely structured. If you jump from place to place, you have to be careful. Yeah, you have to put some structure around it. If you forget something, at the end you can put a star and can link to some other see end of paper and put the extra stuff in to put there. Okay, that way you're kind of covered. Okay. Okay, 4A. I won't name them. You know those already. 4B, this is the Grihastha Ashram. So Grihastha Ashram, what does Grihastha mean? Chat, please. Gru Hasta. Householder stage. Very good, yeah. Okay, household dweller. All that will work, okay. So you see the stage where you bear a burden. Why do you bear a burden in that stage? Who can tell me? In short. Very good, because you have to work on and support everybody else. Support your own family, support your extended family, support the community at large, and the nation as well. Okay, all this comes from you. So in a way, it's bearing a burden. Okay, so the Grihastha Ashram is important because it is seen as a building block of society where couples get married. Okay, and what do you call and look after and have and raise God-centered children. Okay, the idea is have God-centered. Okay, children. Okay, in a in a nice, let's see, nice family. Okay, so in a way, the family is seen as the building block of society in Hinduism. Okay, and not only me, even if you look at sometimes, in parliament debate every so often, they say, oh, families, we want to have a family, we want to maintain the family structure. We must give more incentive to family in tax incentives of because families are stable societies. Yeah, that's the whole idea behind families. Okay, now that's the Grihastha Ashram. Okay, in a way, in a short. Explain why the Vivaha Samskar is important to Hindus. The key word is explain why Vivaha important to Hindus. Important. So why is it important to Hindus? There's a reason for that. Yeah, you must know that answer. So here you can mention a couple of things. One, it's important to Hindus because it gives universal bond, right, to the partners, a spiritual bond as well and a physical bond. One. Two, your companion in happiness and sadness. Okay, suppose in both happiness and sadness is companion. Okay, good and bad. Other thing is important because it actually affirms your lifelong friendship. Okay, in Saptapadi. Here you can explain all the different steps. You can say, look, first of all, it's important to Hindus because it tells them, teaches them about the four Purushas by going around the fire. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It reminds them of this four, Purushas aim for Hindu life. One. Two. Okay, it's important because the father, for the first time, does Pani Grahan, offers the bride to the groom. Okay. So it's important. It's officially offering the bride to the groom like that. Saptapadi. Health, wealth, progeny, whatever. And plus other things you may have seen the ceremony. You can put it in here, right? Okay. Why is it important for Hindus, Vivaha ceremony? Because Ganesh is there to bless the ceremony and make sure you always uh, are not faced with obstacles. That'll give you a mark too. Okay. So the key thing is important. Don't if you just write the whole thing. Oh, in Vivaha ceremony, they get together, they give the hand to the bride, they tie their clothes together, and then they go around the fire a couple of times, and then eventually, people have a feast, and then After a while, the Brahmin does some mantras, chanting mantras, and then he does Saptapadi, and that's 0 marks. Jivan explained the importance, right? The importance is very important. Tying of the cloth, they both have a cloth. They tie this cloth of husband together and wife together is signifying a important bond that must be preserved through your life. Okay, like that, yeah. So it's in a way important. Secondly, when the priest is saying mantras, why is saying all those mantras? Because he wants it's important because we want the couple to be blessed by higher beings, your ancestors, and by the gods. Okay, that is why it's important that we do the Havan. Why is Havan important? Because Havan is seen as the eternal witness, because flame is seen as pure. Hence, it is important to have a Havan with the fire because it is seen as a witness to your wedding. So when you ask this question, you're linking all the way every time you get a chance to the question. Then that exam go, yeah, look, this person, he knows what I'm asking, right? What the question is asking. Good, and you get a 5 marks. Okay. It is too difficult for a Hindu to follow the dharma fully in the modern world. You can say yes. Why? Because the world is very different now. The way the world works with the modern communication, with social media, okay, it's difficult to follow dharma. And plus, as per the ancient scriptures, the concept of dharma and the rules of dharma or the duties of dharma have changed a lot. We do not even show how they apply in the modern world. So you can say that the dharma, concept of dharma, which are said in the scriptures, in old scriptures, is very difficult for them to apply directly to the modern scripture because, first of all, communication has changed. Yeah, the way you live has changed. Again, the idea of single family is now accepted for many people. Idea of things like somebody can be a teacher in the morning, teacher in the evening, morning time he can be a social worker. So dharma can vary depending on what job he's doing at what particular point in time. So there's no fixed dharma anymore. Dharma can be very fluid, yeah. Okay. Fluid, FL can be very fluid, okay, in this day and age, okay. So dharma can vary. Also here, one thing you can mention, the idea, some ideas are good. The dharma comes from the ancient word. This you must learn. You put in the exam if you get a chance, yeah. The word vrita. Vrita means order. Okay, equals to order. Word cosmic as okay, the early parts of Rig Veda. So the word Ratha is a precursor. Okay. Also, you can mention the idea dharma can mean many things. It can mean cosmic order. It can mean eternal, eternal. What do you call a way to pursue moksha. So dharma, the word dharma itself is very complex in its meaning. So it's difficult to fully understand it. Plus, you can also mention busy. Okay, gives little time. Okay, for the dharma. Okay. Also, you can mention again if you get stuck, you go to the memory. Guess, oh yeah, dharma is an ancient concept. Most Hindus nowadays believe in the idea of social science or science, knowledge of science. So this is irrelevant. Okay. Most Hindus believe that the idea of dharma, varying from caste to caste, depending on your caste, is seen as what do you call as not is seen as a negative concept, right? Dharma should be the same for everybody, or people should be free to pursue what they believe. is dharma rather than the scriptures telling them. They can decide for themselves what is the right thing to do. Right and wrong thing decided by okay, like that. Okay. So that also will help in that sense. Okay. So again, in the modern world, what you see is that dharma is seen as an ancient concept for many. They just said, just follow, what you have learned in school and do the right and wrong thing, right? Like that. Okay. Or you can say others would prefer to follow the law as a guide to following them rather than scriptures. So in that sense, you can mention it is a very open question. You can put many different things here, right? And get pretty good answers. Okay. That's number 4. Again, the thing is, doesn't matter what you write. If you have the structure correct, if nice structured answer, then the marks will come out. He can pick up automatically the marks and give you the marks. Oh yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. Come on. The key thing is write properly in the structure. It's so important. I know I'm stressing again and again, but writing in a nice, proper, organized structure is very, very crucial. As I mentioned earlier, you may know all the material. You don't put it down on paper properly, it doesn't come across properly, you lose marks. Okay, simple as that. Okay. Okay, 5A. Two politics why Gandhi fasted. One, he fasted after independence. A lot of people died. He fasted. He also fasted for Dalit rights to pass those. He also fasted when there was violence in any of his satyagrahas. He would actually, so you can say one, he would fast when there was violence in many pursuits his satyagrahas, graha, when he's demonstrating against unjust, treatment by British. If there's violence in those demonstrations, he would fast. So then you can mention here one is about Dalits' rights, right? When he didn't to get Dalits' rights as he expected from the British, he went on a fast. Second was, of course, fast. The biggest fast he went on was after Indian independence when there was a lot of violence, a lot of people died. Okay, it's interesting. I know somebody whose grandparents died in that particular partition. It was really, really bad. I think about 2 million people died. Yeah, in the partition, very nasty. And I personally blame Gandhi and Nehru for that particular debacle, and Jinnah as well. But anyway, it's all history now. Describe one of the teachings of the Brahmo Samaj. I won't cover that. You have learned it already. An idea of getting of child marriages, idea of monotheist teachings, removing the sati pradha, okay, education for girls. If you mention education for girls, you say okay. Plus, you also build colleges where you merge the two, Western and the Eastern together. You mention all that stuff. That'll come up, okay, in here, okay. Explain how Mbigani tried to improve the lives of the poor and the powerless. Okay, this is a trick. It's a hard question actually, because unless you study him properly, that is true. He did a lot of that. One, he lived among the Dalits. He tried to improve their lives by also encouraging people not to treat them differently. Okay. Plus, he tried to get them educated. Also, he taught people to try and do the work Dalits do. For example, Gandhi, cleaned his own house, his own toilet, and everybody has to clean their own, houses. Teach them about what Dalits do. So in a way, create awareness by making the upper caste do the jobs that Dalits did as well. That way, it's creating awareness among the people, so they realize that actually the job is, poor. Also, he tried to arrange, for providing of food, medicine, all that stuff for the poor people. Okay, so just general stuff which he did for the poor. The key thing to mention is that he described the Dalits as Harijans, the children of God. Okay, like that. Yeah. Key point here. Okay. D. Again, in CK mentioned he was against the Varna system. Well, he's not against Varna, but he was against the discrimination. Okay, so Gandhi was against the, the He wasn't against it per se, but it's against the discrimination which existed among the different Varna. Ramakrishna reforms failed to establish Hinduism as a world religion. Okay. That is a bit of a trick question because what do they mean by reforms here, right? So key thing you mentioned here is that Ramakrishna believed in the idea of pluralism, right? One path, many pathways to supreme, okay? The challenge he faced here was twofold. One, from the Abrahamic faiths, okay? And two, for many modern Hindu movements like the Arya Samaj and the Brahmo Samaj, they believe in the idea of monotheist God. So Ramakrishna's idea of pluralism in many ways to the divine was challenged by Hindus and by non-Hindus alike. Okay, you can mention that. That made it difficult for him to kind of establish Hinduism, okay, as a world religion. However, you can say that his teachings of pluralism were successfully used by Vivekananda to spread the idea of Hinduism around the world, especially in America and in world and in Europe. So that was a plus point. So you can say, no, that's not true because although Ramakrishna reforms, he didn't reform, he didn't mean to establish religion himself. Well, Vivekananda on his behalf as a disciple did that as well. You mentioned that. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing, Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna also did not go out and he did not start a new sectarian movement in his name. So yeah, okay, Rama. Okay, new sectarian. So like if you look at the modern example of modern gurus we have, right? Every modern guru you see, they start a movement in his name. Okay, when you start a movement in your name, like ISKCON movement, then it spreads. But Ramakrishna never left the temple, hardly left the temple. First of all, the Dakshineshwar temple, hardly left it, and he only had 12 regular disciples who would come and visit him all the time. Rest would come and goes. He never held really big sermons, like in a big, like a big gathering. He never did that. So in a way, that's a negative point again. So that in that sense, he never managed to establish his ideas. Okay, that's one thing you can mention. Other points you can mention here is that many people see Ramakrishna as not a proper Hindu movement because they are involved a lot more in charity work. For example, the Ramakrishna Mission, which are heavily involved in education in India and helping the poor. Okay, so that could be seen as a more of social activity than a religious activity. In that could be seen as trying to establish Hinduism. Okay, in the world. Also, Ramakrishna Mission is known to celebrate events of other religions. For example, they celebrate Christmas as well. Okay, that could be seen as diluting Hinduism. So in a way, it not establishes properly. Again, nevertheless, Vivekananda managed to sow the seeds of the core Hindu beliefs of Vedanta in the West and expand the knowledge of Vedanta universal. So you can keep it like that, yeah. So read the notes and then write in a special manner. But it is true that Ramakrishna himself did start a movement, and it's only Vivekananda who was lucky to go out in the West and establish Hinduism as a world religion. Okay, so keep those two facts in mind. Okay. Number 6. Okay, this is William Bentnick. Yeah, you know him, right? Whom you worked with. Okay. Sati Prada was banned, which you know. One social suggested by Diana Saraswati. So pick anyone, like educating girls, okay, stopping child marriages, got them remarried again. Remember, they're not asking religious reform or social reform. Religious reform would be, saying only for the Vedas, but social reform, he did many of them. Uplifting the poor. One social reform he did was to educate boys and girls to education, right? And get them knowledgeable so they get a good job or whatever. So if you describe any of these from your notes, then you're fine. Again, it's the same kind of ideas as Ram Mohan Roy, but except here he used his own charisma And religion do it, whereas Ram Mohan Roy try to use this law to get the same ideas. Okay. C. Explain the relationship between non-violence and satyagraha. So non-violence, means ahimsa. Mention here. What does non-violence mean? Ahimsa. What does ahimsa mean? Who can tell me? The full meaning. Anyone? What's the full meaning of ahimsa? As the Jains would put it. No malice, yeah. But look here, it says non. Yeah. That is the full meaning of non-violence. Okay. Means non-violence with thought, word, or deeds. For example, if I need the action, right, do something bad with my hands, yeah. Okay, if I say verbally to somebody, if I abuse somebody verbally, that's violence too. I think sometimes words hurt more than a slap. They really are painful. Sometimes words. That is a form of violence. And thought. If you think bad, negative things, it may not hurt the person you're thinking about. It'll hurt you. So non-violence in thought, word, and deed is the concept of ahimsa. Okay. Satyagraha. Satyagraha you can mention is the idea of truth force. So satya means truth, and graha means to do some activity. Okay, like that. Satyagraha. So you can say he's the idea of non-violence to pursue the idea of truth. Okay. And you can mention you're disobedient. Here you can bring the idea of, for example, salt march. When it's unjustly done, when the salt tax was unjustly applied to everybody, he used the idea of satyagraha, truth force or truth, to go and get everybody to make their own soul in a non-violent manner without reacting to the unjust law in a violent manner. Okay, like that. If you mention these ideas, then yeah, fine. Satyagraha was used in many places, but every time there was a violence here, he went on a fast to make sure absolutely clear that any kind of agitation, any kind of demonstration against injustice must be taken with violence. Why? Because you must not hurt others in your aims. If you hurt others, then you have lost the plot. You are like them, basically. Okay. Here you can put that famous saying if you want to. Who knows that famous thing Gandhi said about violence? Anybody know? That you can use that. Okay. Gandhi said an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Okay, like that. Yeah. That's something you can use as a means to defend the idea of satyagraha and non-violence. Okay. D. M.K. Gandhi's achievements were social, not religious. That's a tough question because, in my view, Gandhi was generally, a social reformer, not religious person. But you can mention here that by fighting for justice in the Varna system, it could be seen as a religious activity, okay, and not a social activity. Also, you can mention that idea that he tried to, what do you call, read the scriptures and apply them for the betterment for everybody. Yeah, that's an example of a religious movement. Okay, idea of opening ideas like celibacy. Okay, devotion to God. He also tried to encourage, right, people to see God in others. Okay, that's the important point. Yeah, see. Okay. He also coined a very famous Vaishnava song. Remember the song? Vaishnava Janato Tene Kahiere. Je Pir Paraye Manere. Okay, that song, which is like saying that, in a way, saying that you should not, it's a very beautiful song, that one. Don't hurt others, always be a true Vaishnava, right? Respect. So, in a way, he was preaching the idea of non-violence as taught in the scriptures. Okay? That is the ideas you can put in Gandhi. And the other things you can mention here, Sarvodaya, welfare for all, Satyagraha, independence movement, right? Okay. Change the British with unjust laws. In South Africa, he fought against the idea of, creating special papers for Indians, right? Segregating them, was against segregation. All these are his kind of achievement. Also, he helped the British very thought it was necessary to fight the what do you call unjust Boer War. So in a way, these are seen as social activities. So in a way, in this question, you can put pretty much everything about Gandhi's life will fit here. Okay, it's a very broad question. On the religious part, you'll have a bit of a challenge to kind of add. Just going to make things up here. Okay. Okay. I'll stop here now. Any questions? If you have, let me know, or you can email me some questions if you have. I don't mind to help you out. So now the thing is,
sorry,
go on.
Vijay Bhai.
Yeah.
One question. You know the question D.
I can't hear you properly. Sorry, go on.
Just curious this. Question D, 5D. Ramakrishna reforms failed to establish Hinduism.
Yes.
When they say you should use it with other reformers, should you mention the others?
Yes, you can mention, absolutely. You mention others.
And all of them.
You can mention, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, that, Dayananda Saraswati, you can say they started a movement. There's some side of Arya Samaj, right?
Okay.
There was no Ramakrishna movement as such when he was around. Ramakrishna mission started after he passed away by Ram Vivekananda, right? But that was mainly a social concept. Okay. So as a social concept, okay. In a way, as I mentioned in Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he himself, there's 2 points of view here. One, against he never started his own movement. He never left the temple. He had very few disciples. He never gave large sermons to the public, right? Okay. But his ideas were very good, the Puru's ideas. Plus, he was challenged by other movements like Dayananda Saraswati saying, no, God cannot be with form. God can only be with, without form. God can only be worshipped in a particular way with through havans.
Yeah.
And on this side, you have, Ram Mohan is saying, oh, Hinduism is a monotheist religion. So all these are actually putting him down, saying that they're challenging him on establishing Hinduism as a world religion. However, you can mention here that his disciple Vivekananda managed to kind of get his ideas through on the world stage later on, right? When he went to the West. This after Ramakrishna passed away, yeah. And when he did that, he went there and he preached about Vedanta. So in a way, both points you can cover, for and against, and then you find. But yes, bring other religious movements in here, which kind of limit the idea of pluralism. The key thing is pluralism is a very broad idea, and many Hindus don't like that because they say, no. It kind of negates their own idea because they want their idea to be supreme, right? But Ramakrishna is saying, look, all modes of worship, including other religions, are actually valid. And in a way, negates it. You can also mention here that Ramakrishna also managed to prove that you can achieve moksha by following other religions' pathways, which in a way negates the idea of Hinduism as the most important religion as such. Yeah. So you can use all these ideas and kind of plug them in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I won't be able to help you much now till Monday. One of my friends, parent has passed, and is a very close friend, and both my wife have to go, unfortunately, to Beswan on Saturday. But anyway, please, if you got any questions, please email them to me, and let me know, and I'll help you. I'll try to answer them. If you want to connect with me one-to-one, we'll try and connect. Maybe if you want Saturday afternoon, one-off, but I think you're all okay. Just read your notes and practice question and look at the mark scheme as well. Some of the mark scheme are pretty good answers. I mean, I haven't looked at the mark scheme for these ones, but you may find some points of mark scheme you can actually add in this particular, question as well, yeah, and then answer them like that. Okay.
Okay. What I wanted to ask you was, this is a paper 22?
It's paper 22, yes. This is a good paper because it's got a good mix of questions. Some, awkward questions, some good, some are difficult to, track, like slanted, some are easy. So this is a kind of a mixed paper. Last year's paper was fairly easy. This was a bit of a tricky one, yeah. So, but anyway, just two random questions. The key thing is the material you know is how you answer the question. So organize your material that you know in such a way that you answer the question. That's the tricky part. Okay.
Okay. Would you have a paper that the children could do on Saturday?
I can send one. I think do 2021 paper. That's also a good one. if they haven't done that one.
Yeah.
2021 paper 2. I'll email that to you, Chaya Ben. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds. Thank you so much.
Okay. No worries. Okay. So thanks everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Aradhya, stay on. So Aradhya was going to ask, what is Varnashram Dharma? So Varnashram Dharma is the dharmas of Varna. Like if you're a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. If you're a Brahmin, your duty is to teach. Yeah, teacher, administrator. If you're a Kshatriya, so if you're a Vaishya, then your duty is to do economics, run the economy, work as a tradesman, craftsman, farmer. And if you're Shudra, your dharma is to serve others, right? So Varnashram Dharma just means following dharma as per your dharma as per your, what do you call, as per your stage in life, or just as per your status in the Varna, okay? Jati, and I think we covered that yesterday, but I'll cover it again. Varna and Jati. Jati is like a subcaste. Like when you have Varna, like, you have Patels, Ruanas, Brahmins, like Joshis, whatever. That is Jati. Okay, that's the difference between Varna. Varna is a bigger group, Jati is a subgroup. Okay, that's it. Okay. Anyway, okay. Take care, everybody. Please email me for some question. I'll have a look later on.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Sayonara.
care. Bye. Bye.
Sayonara.